The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, iTunes, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. Mike brings you great guests and interesting people from all across the globe. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another great episode of the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/the Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Speaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, over 25 podcast platforms. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with a wonderful author who grew up in the south side of Chicago and is currently in Southern California with his new book, Unbound, The Journey to Your Within. He had been a software salesperson for IBM. He won the Best of the IBM Award. He is an MBA who graduated on an undergrad degree, and just amazing person as well, too. Talks about joy and empathy and takes readers through their using their North Star and just making them the best there is. Power of empathy, how to stop discounting yourself and listen to the true inner voice, and a lot more. And live, ladies and gentlemen, from the beautiful studios in Southern California, ladies and gentlemen, author Aaron McCormick. Aaron, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Mike. Great to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's great to have you as well, too. And, of course, you grew up in the south side of Chicago. You've got an amazing story to tell, according to your book as well, too. And along your profile, you're in Southern California right now. You've been a Southwest salesperson for IBM, and you won the Best of the IBM Award. And you also have an MBA as well, too, without getting an undergrad degree, which is amazing. You also talk about many things like inner voice, empathy, and more. And before we get into all that, tell us how you first got started.
Well, started as a broad term. Started in life. Like you said, I was born south side of Chicago. I'm the youngest of 4 kids. My parents divorced when I was about 3 or 4 years old. Not a very unique story in some ways. In other ways, it is quite unique. I was raised not just by a single mom, but in a very fundamentalist Christian religion that, I guess, confined a lot of freedoms that most people take for granted. Like, we didn't celebrate any holidays, any birthdays. I was not able to really have friends outside of the religion. This is just a religion that takes the Bible extremely literally. I have no axe to grind against it whatsoever. I believe everyone should live their absolute truth. I just eventually awakened and realized I did not want to feel that elitist or separatist perspective regarding other faiths and other people in other parts of the world. And it's something that's been a conflict within me my whole life. So, later in life, I would eventually leave that faith. And that was a significant change to my life as well. But I mean, the beginning is really a life in a largely, Black experience. Obviously, I'm Black. All my family grew up within the projects of Chicago. I was raised in the far south suburbs, which was predominantly Black. My high school was integrated, was pretty well mixed. I had several great friends, kids I grew up with. We were in gangs. They were in gangs. I knew all the gang checks and stuff, but something inside of me always kept me very much, balanced. Like, I was super athletic, very, very much into everything that all of us Black kids were into. At the same time, I also wasn't in the same energy of can't, if you will. And I think that was the genesis of a lot of things that has happened throughout the rest of my life, where I just didn't realize there were the barriers that physically one would assume were there, both in my background as well as in my physical, being Black in this country and some of the challenges that could impose to a bunch of other things. And the book is really about, it's nothing to do with my history as a business person, making millions or being an entrepreneur, any of that stuff. It's really more about the fact that there were pieces of what I really am on the inside that I leveraged or that I acknowledged and went into careers that used just some of those things that are naturally me, instead of doing things that maybe society told me that I should be doing. And that is what brought a lot of success. But even those were just pieces of me. The book is about how do you find and understand all the things that have always been you, patterns since you were a baby that others may have recognized and you didn't pay attention to, but you may have deviated from in your life. How do you get back to that original essence that is you before you began to be molded by societal expectations and your environment and the energies of your family and just the energy that permeates your existence, that are around you, but maybe foreign to your essence. So I call those my binders, things that kind of constrict what you really might be beyond the physical things of what you are, where you're born, your sex, your religion, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And you also mentioned bindings as well, too, but you talk about it in low-frequency realm as well, too. Tell us about the low-frequency binding and explain how you came across the low-frequency bindings when you talk about that, especially in the inner voice.
Yes. So sometimes people think when they hear the term ascension or ascend, that's like esoteric, kind of woo-woo speak, so to speak, right? But this is actual, very literal, very scientific stuff. Frequency of our essence, if you will, or the energy that is permeating our current physical body is measurable. So if they were to hook you or I up to a biofeedback machine, which think of it as like an EKG of sorts, like in a hospital, they might put some little probes around your head, around both of your wrists, around your ankle. And if they were to show you pictures of something that makes you feel happy, like your pet dog when you were a child, or your baby, or anyone you love, your frequency, your actual measured frequency would be high. They show you something that brings fear, a monster that you were scared of when you were a kid, or a bully, or anything that triggers that fear emotion, your frequency goes very low. So the notion of ascending means being more often and more prolifically in your joy space. And therefore you don't have the fear or the biases and the triggers and all the things that take our frequency low. The insecurities, the anger, and the resentment, and just living in conflict, where you might even be working a job that you hate to go to, which is what most people are actually doing.
Mm-hmm.
We grow up and we live in our head instead of our heart, and our head says, I got to provide, so I got to go to this job, even though my spirit or my essence, my vibration says I hate it, I don't want to go there, but I just do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So when I talk about your higher vibration, it means being more in touch with the truth, which is that thing that you were before you learned all these things that you had to be, whether it be working, a relationship you're in that you don't have the courage to exit, or you're scared of exiting because of what you think it'll mean, failure or starting over, or low, you don't feel as valuable, so you don't know if you'll get somebody else. Those are all things that your mind will use to keep you hostage, but your actual feeling, your essence, is telling you this isn't right. So we got to learn how to follow the truth inside of us. And when we do that, our frequency goes up. So here comes joy and fulfillment, because you're at peace with yourself. It's much more difficult to live in conflict with yourself than with others. We think it's the other way around, but in reality, Mike, if you're in conflict with some other person, you can separate from them. I mean, you can be away from your boss. You can briefly separate from your husband or wife, or you can permanently divorce husband or wife. I mean, everything else is separable, but you can't separate from yourself. And rather than carry around that kind of load, it's really important to learn how to become congruent with your own essence, if that makes sense.
You talked about the high frequencies, low frequencies. If I'm correct, the high frequencies is standing for joy, happiness, elation, peace, and the low frequencies are for stress, tension, depression, and anything that's negative. Now, in the book you're talking about with Unbound, now, are you here to eliminate the low frequencies, or are you trying to keep them at an even level?
Well, it's impossible to completely eliminate them, because that will make us on a perpetual high, and that means you're not in the human experience, which I believe we all chose. And I think there's a lot of evidence that we all have experienced, but we kind of put aside because it's not physically explainable, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that by the time we have no low vibe, feelings or energies, we're probably already dead, at least physically, and we're already moved on to the next realm, or the soul has continued to go, if that's what one believes. But to your point, the idea is to be in them much less, and the more you are pursuing the actual things, the things that your soul knows are most important. Because if this concept is true, if this thing that we've all been taught, whether it be in church, whether it be in our own experiences with things like deja vu, or when someone says your ears were ringing because they were just talking about you, thinking about you. There's so much evidence that we are energy more than we are these physical bodies even. If all that's true, then all of the experiences that we have are designed by us. They're sort of like, it's a journey, it's an experience that we've chosen, and there's no real bad per se. It's bad in the physical experience of it all, but you'll transition, you'll move on anyway, and it'll just be all bundled into the many soul learnings that you'll have in the first place. And so what I've learned is that rather than just telling yourself this, it's not about motivational, getting on some Kool-Aid, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
It's actual becomes a fact to yourself when you look back on your life and you look at various parts of your life. This is part of journeying to your own within. It's acknowledging experiences lessons that you've already been taught by yourself, by life, but you haven't really chosen to heed them in the proper way. And when you look at them and you play them out and you see how they have worked for you, for your benefit, and you look at them through a different lens, you begin to see how all is serving you. And the more you understand that, the less fearful you become with future challenges, and the more authentic you become with doing what makes the most sense for you, as opposed to trying to please some external ideal, right? Another person, family, a religion, a boss, your cultural group, all those sorts of things.
And that's fantastic, too. We'll talk more about your book, Unbound, Journey to Within, as well in a few minutes. But first, listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, and over 25 podcast platforms. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with author Aaron McCormick of Unbound, Journey to Within here on the Mike Wagner Show. Grew up in the South Side of Chicago, now in Southern California. And we also talked about, parts of the book and how it got started and talking about the frequencies and everything else. And there was one question before we talk more about your book, Unbound, Journey to Within. What was that one moment that precisely influenced you into writing this book?
Well, that's a tough question. I don't think there was a single moment. The book idea came as a result of the general theme of my life. A couple of things. One being the fact that I'm an empath, and I've always been highly sensitive to the sufferings of others, and I deeply value justice and balance, and I don't like people being a victim of other people's actions, and especially not a victim of themselves when they have the power. So I just like seeing people in their power and fulfilled. And throughout my life, there's been a lot of personal situations where I've helped people just through questions where they help themselves, really. The introspective questions give them these epiphanies or these moments where they unequivocally know their answer, where before they may have been lost. What should I do? How do I fix this? What about this problem? And that's because they're confused with what the truth really is already sitting there right inside of them, and they know it, but they're running from it. And then, of course, you have the external reality that scares them to face. And so with enough, transparent questions to themselves, they realize, I know exactly what I got to do and how I got to do it. So with enough of whether it's relationships, people in career situations, family situations, for whatever reason, I just have this innate ability to get to those things that we already have the answers to. And so I said, why would I continue to just onesie-twosie do this instead of allowing more people to go through a similar process with themselves and become their own masters, become more in control and more happy, more fulfilled, the brightest version of themselves through themselves. So I started to create that. It also happened in the single year that I technically had the most external success. It was the year that I made the first 7 figures in a year. I got some pretty prestigious awards, got my first Italian supercar. I graduated with my MBA. I don't have an undergrad. So it's just a bunch of things happened in this one year. At the same time, I left the religion that I was raised in, it no longer served me. If it serves others, great. They got to live their truth. That's fine. But a lot of mega changes happened all in the same year, awakenings, if you will. And one of them was also paying it forward. And so the book writing began.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. Congratulations on success as well, too. It's like, I can use a car right now like that. So, and also, too, the questions, you talked about some of the questions that you ask your people as well too. What are some examples of questions that you often ask? So like say, for example, like say, what do you want to get out of life, etc. It's like, what are some of the questions that you normally ask people?
There are no normal questions because the issues are never very broad, general stuff like, what are you trying to get out of life? Although the book does lay a foundation for what everybody's purpose is, and it quantifies and qualifies, if you will, why that is so, where you can absolutely know exactly why you're here, a few of the reasons why you're here, and then you need to connect your own dots as to the human experience that relates to the reason you're here. And everybody's are unique. So there's a process that one goes through in the book, at least. On a personal level, depends on the situation. I mean, there's been people that, are at a crossroads in a relationship and they know what they should be doing, but they don't really want to face it. And so the questions in that situation are really very straightforward, but they've also varied, right? It could be as simple as you're waiting for this person to ask you to marry them. Mm-hmm. And you've been wanting this for so long. Do you really feel that person is the soulmate for you, so to speak? I don't mean like the single soulmate. I don't think that out of billions there's only one, but we all have the potential to be compatible. But the simple question is, are they what you actually want to be with the rest of your life? Are you happy and fulfilled in the relationship? And almost, whenever someone's at this crossroads, the fact that they're at that crossroads where they're trying to figure out should they stay or go, it means that they're not obviously there. And then they may find out, so I've been wanting and expecting and hoping that they would get serious and propose, for example, because that's what is supposed to happen. We've been dating for 2 years, 3 years or whatever. I'm at a certain age. I thought we all get married. So they realize that why exactly am I pushing for this so much? Maybe it's helping me that they haven't proposed. Maybe it's mutual energy that we're here because we're just holding space for each other, but we're not necessarily the best together, if you will. But that's just one example of many. It's like we don't need somebody else to give us any answers whatsoever. We need to know how to ask ourselves the right questions. We need to know how to be courageous enough to face the true answer to those questions that is sitting right in us.
Mm-hmm. And of course, you also talk about the power of empathy in business as well, too. Why nice guys don't finish last. And you can explain that part.
Well, one of the things that sometimes gets to me is, especially in today's day where social media and other things allow us to see so much materialism. And as men especially, everybody tends to be visual, but men are even more visual. We can go down that rabbit hole in many different ways on the men in their eyes. But, I see all these motivational people or so-called business leaders, network marketers, all kinds of genres, real estate flippers, and they're espousing this narrative of how aggressive you have to be and how, here's what it takes to be rich. You want to be rich? Well, look at all the stuff I have, and here's what it takes. And wake up early, you go to bed late, you sacrifice, and you're in the gym, so to speak, the gym of working in that business while everyone else is having a good time. So it's almost this notion of aggression and ambition at all costs. And I happen to have had a very different path where my focus wasn't the outcome. I wasn't driven by the money itself. When the money came in, I had good taste. I could figure out things to do with the money, but that itself didn't motivate me. In the process, I obviously want to be the best that I am. I wanted to not have to do the job, but I also was very much attuned to who I was helping, right? Like in my business where I was selling multi-million-dollar software programs that ran departments, supply chain, e-commerce, procurement, and accounting, multiple genres. I've sold and implemented. I'm thinking about the people. There's hundreds of people, in some companies thousands, that would end up using the software on a daily basis that I would sell to their senior executives, and that affects their quality of life. So I would connect with the user community, those that are actually going to functionally use it, how does it make their life better? What's broken? What isn't working? Not just, I mean, what in their current software and about ours. And I would bring this stuff into the feedback loop, if you will, of our product developers, our implementers, the team that I would virtually manage, to bring them what it is that they want. So I wouldn't just interface with the senior executives and, do like a politician and just kind of stay in my high perch, if you will. The best leaders actually work with the people. They care. They actually want to improve things. So in that context, I was always the best. I mean, I was consistently number one, even in my young years, 20, 22 years old, with peers and colleagues that were 35, 40 with degrees. I'm 21, 22. I'm black. I got no degree. And I'm making hundreds of thousands of dollars, living in $1 million house. I was achieving the stuff, but the focus wasn't that way. And I didn't have this aggression at all costs. So the theme there, and across other aspects of business, I talk about this in all types of business, and I give examples of why empathy actually is the cornerstone of business, because business is comprised of partnerships. Business is comprised of an exchange of all kinds of things, of goods in all types of shapes and forms and services, that if you don't know how to sit in the shoes of the other side, no real communication can happen, because we're all talking from our own perspective, which is not the perspective of the other person. So it's very easy for no real communication or no real connection to take place. Real connections happen with real empathy.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds very important too, just relating on someone's level. And it's also important to not discount yourself. And also, you also made a point in a book that valuing oneself, even at the risk of ostracism, those two important things that, the people say, in other words, how to not sell yourself short and how to value yourself, although people will basically alienate. And also explains in the book how to transmute anxiety into a superpower. So those three things just pretty much all come together.
Absolutely. And all of them are discussed, and all of them are absolute truths about life. And a lot of us have learned it in various ways already. We just didn't count it as a lesson. We didn't realize we learned it. So many people that have read this book would say to me, man, this is like I'm looking in the mirror. I didn't quite realize when I went through this or that, or how, when I learned this, that there's another way to apply it. And that's a universal truth that could help me in this area and that area, and so on and so forth. So yes, I mean, all of them come together, and it's all about the journey to your own personal truth, which is actually each other's truth, because we all are actually quite connected. That's another thing that we don't consciously realize. We want to think we're different. And as we look at the world that's so divided, we want to believe we're different, and as in some cases, extremely different for all various reasons. We want to believe these things, but in so many ways, and in the actual truth, we are connected. We are one force, one energy, and we're serving each other all the time. We're giving each other exactly what the other one expects according to their personal journey. Because what they believe, we unconsciously are all, we're all unconsciously motivated, meaning we're animated by an unconscious force. That's why science even says that 90% of our thought, Mike, is unconscious. It's subconscious thought. So 90% of what we do, we don't even know why we do it. And that's all of us. But yet that same subconscious energy, we're all connected to each other. And so that's why super positive people tend to keep having super positive experiences, because they're drawing that, and they pull that sort of response or stimuli out of others unconsciously. And those that are bent on negativity and bent on problem and struggle, they have to continue experiencing that, because that's the energy that's being manipulated by them, right? So we're all, even when we're hurting each other, in some ways we're giving each other what we subconsciously wanted to experience. And all this experience is not absolute, meaning it's not the end all, because as we talked about, there's a lot of evidence that implicates none of us really are just these bodies anyhow. We're a whole lot more than that.
Mm-hmm. And it's also amazing, too, that you talk about every decision people make, endeavors, and success, relationships, everything all coming together. You also explain in your book about how to use their North Star, and tell us more about that.
Well, North Star is that simple thing I talked about at the very beginning of our discussion here. It's your purpose for being here. Everyone has a purpose. There's really two reasons, two macro reasons that we are here as human, why we incarnated, if you will. One is to have some sort of human experience, to experience, hobbies or joy or, connection to other humans, all these different things. And also sometimes bad things, because if we really are one with God, as most religion teaches, from Christianity to Buddhism, you name it, they all have this common thread that God is in us, we are God. So we say this stuff a lot, but we don't quite realize what we're saying. If we really are this blissful, all-powerful state or being that has dispersed into being all of us individually, then in the other state, in the previous state, the God form, we don't have any problems. There is no limitations. There's no I'm hungry. There's no, oh, someone broke my heart. There's no fear of money. None of that stuff is there. We come here to experience this harsh illusion of separation from what we really are. It's kind of like we go to horror movies to get scared, or we get on a roller coaster to get scared. And then we, sometimes you complain about why you did it. You're like, oh, why am I up on the top of this roller coaster? I should have never did it. Sometimes that's what we subconsciously feel about being here in this challenging human life. But it ultimately is a process that serves our collective growth, our collective expansion.
Mm-hmm. And I can use one of those rides myself too. So, and we'll talk more about wrap up with the book as well too. What's coming up for author Aaron McCormick. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable, custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, and over 25 podcast platforms. Check the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with author Aaron McCormick of Unbound, Journey to Within, here on the Mike Wagner Show, talking about the book, talking about the power of empathy, and also frequencies, inner voice, and relationships, and just about everything we've covered. And before we go here, just to wrap up, what are some of the upcoming plans that you have as well too in 2020 and beyond, and what can we expect from you then, Aaron?
Well, you said the key date or time frame, which is 2020. There are no such plans in 2020.
or should I say, and beyond? I think I said that. So maybe my subconscious kind of muted. It's like, come on, get it together. Get your North Star together here, guys. So
No, you're fine. I'm messing with you. There are quite a few shows, interviews, some collaborations that are being planned that are coming up. There'll also be some speaking, all of which on my website, so unboundedbook.com or the Aaron McCormick, so it's AARON MCCORMICK, the AaronMcCormick.com. You can find information about events and stuff there.
Okay, that's fantastic. And who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
I don't really have one, actually. I think that's, which is ironic, but also matches what I'm trying to really say in the book for all of us is we tend to be extrinsically driven because the world has taught us all kinds of things. Even when we're watching cartoons, the prince, the princess, the cause effect is if I'm pretty, I get to get that prince. If I'm this great prince, then I get to get that princess. If I'm a good boy, then all these reward systems and all these. That's part of the external binders, if you will, that bind what we really are all about. And for whatever reason, I mean, there are definitely things that I was a fan of. I was a big fan of Michael Jordan when I was a kid. I was a big fan of Michael Jackson, watching him perform. And there's all kinds of other singers. I love the piano work of Elton John and his performance. So there's just so much things that I appreciated, but I've never really had including the fact that obviously my parents were divorced when I was young, right? So I didn't have any literal father figure or another person that kind of was this constant throughout my life that I looked up to or inspired me. There's no book that changed me per se, that shaped me. And we shape ourselves. And hopefully those that read this book will become shapers of themselves even more consciously, because that really is what it's all about. We're not here to, all the celebrityism in the world today where people are worshiping other people and want to be like, these people are meant to be examples of us living our truth. Someone that becomes larger than life at something, it's really great. It's awesome that they're so good at whatever it is that they do. And that should be a message to us that what is it that gives us the highest level of joy and fulfillment? Because it is those things that will make us feel the best, and that will then allow us to attract other prominence and other high vibe experiences and relationships monetarily and across really every topic. So I don't really have a single, mentor or thing or person I looked up to. It's really just finding myself, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's a really good one as well, too. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
Best advice, especially with all that's going on, is a lot of things that you think are a problem for you are a gift to you. That includes the thing that we've all been going through with quarantines and even the very divisive, stuff all over the media regarding police brutality and some of the fears that is triggering and some of the pain it's creating in a lot of us. All this tends to mold, and it actually helps us go within a little bit more and find real truth. I've talked about many times how quarantine is actually serving us in the sense that we are without distractions, or we were without the distractions of shopping, of going to a job that we don't really connect to in the heart space, looking at a bunch of brand new movies because nothing really is coming out. There's no vacations. So it's forced us to find other ways to be fulfilled or to feel joy. And it takes us back into our kid space. And as I mentioned earlier, when we were children, we were naturally more connected to that North Star, which is joy. It's finding the things that bring you joy. So hobbies have gone up immensely. Exercise has gone up, even though you can't go to the gym. People have gained weight, yes. But I mean, like getting out, walking, riding bikes, a lot has really changed in people's day-to-day way of viewing themselves. And many of them will probably go back to different forms of work because they may have been too afraid to switch careers or try something different because they're afraid of losing income. But when you've lost income for 3-4 months anyway and you survived it, you faced a big fear there. And now you realize, I'm bigger than this. I don't have to be hostage to something I don't want to do anymore. So that'll serve us. So I guess the biggest advice, Mike, is everything is happening to you for a reason. You are in more control than you realize because, as science proves, the subconscious runs the show. What you just need to do now is figure out how to get more connected to the subconscious or more in line with it so that you're not living in conflict with it and creating more strife for yourself. And then things will start to flow for you more so.
And that's amazing as well, too. Once again, author Aaron McCormick of Unbounded, Journey to Your Within here on the Mike Wagner Show. Aaron, a big thank you for your time. You've been fantastic. Learned a lot from you. Looking forward to having you again soon, and keep us up to date. Love to have back on 2020 and beyond. And before we go here, once again, tell us about your upcoming projects, what's your website, how do people contact you, where can people purchase your book?
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me. You can find out what's going on, look at the calendar, look at news on my website, aaronmccormick.com, also unboundedbook.com. You can find me on Instagram at the Aaron McCormick, Facebook, the Aaron McCormick, same deal. Where there's space, I also do individual coaching, so you can look at that information also on the website. Speaking, if you'd like to have me speak at your corporate event, your non-for-profit, whether it's purely motivational or business related, all the above, and the topics are all listed on the website.
That is great, Aaron. Again, a big thank you for your time. You've been fantastic. Looking forward to having you again soon. Do us a favor, keep us up to date. Love you to have back on 2020 and beyond, and keep us up to date. You've been fantastic.
Thank you, Mike. Look forward to chatting.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, Custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Thanks for listening to the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Please support our program with your donations at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again next time for another great episode of The Mike Wagner Show.